Riad Mannan, the Lib Dem candidate for Harlow, 4 days to go before the general election. Reflections on how it's gone and what you're going to do over the next 4 days.
So thanks, Michael. Yeah, it's been good. Can't believe it's gone by so quickly. We only have 4 or 5 days left of the campaign. And it's been good and interesting because we've been able to talk about our policies in a positive way, talk about what the offering is from the Liberal Democrats, talk about some of the things that are challenging for the people in Harlow and what we can do in terms of offering them some sort of solution. So whether it's more doctors, making sure we've got more dental appointments available, that free personal healthcare for the elderly people and the disabled community. We've been able to talk about some of our issues, some of our policies, some of our positive things that we can really hope for. People will actually vote for these sort of things in a few days' time. And I think our responsibility is to outlay some of our positive cases for voting rather than just dismantling all the other parties. And in a way, that's a Liberal Democrat message for this election.
And have you found that quite pertinent that you've gone straight into talk about health provision and that you are in this constituency with people going, where's our new hospital, now delayed to 2032, UK Health Security Agency announced in 2015 by George Osborne. Yeah. It's like almost a decade ago. So do you find that's really relevant to the people of Harlow?
So it absolutely is relevant. And in a way, we've put the NHS and healthcare at the centerpiece of our policies, as you'd know from our manifesto. And as I said in the hustings, the agency and the hospital are two broken promises, and we cannot get away from this. And so it's a pertinent issue, not only for the agency in terms of the work that they may bring into the town and the area and the local community and local businesses, but of course the hospital itself. When you're missing a hospital, that means people are missing appointments. That means people are missing treatment. And we can't get away from this, that somehow it will happen automatically. It's a result of underinvestment, not keeping your eye on the ball in terms of the agency, not delivering. And I've always talked about delivery. I talked about the hustings, that my professional role is about delivering projects. And those two, agency and the hospital, are two examples of not just broken promises, but things that were promised to the people of Harlow, the actual people of Harlow who vote for us and vote for policies, and they weren't delivered and have not been delivered. And I'm dubious about how the Labour Party can deliver that as well, because in an area where you've got other commitments, they have been lacking in coming forward and saying this is how specifically we're going to deliver these things. So I've said in the campaign, and I've said it at the hustings, in my first 100 days, if I was elected as MP, I would make sure we get all the stakeholders in a public meeting to explain to the people of Harlow, because this is so important, why it hasn't been delivered and what are the steps are to that delivery. Give us a timescale, give us a process, explain to the people of Harlow what we're going to do to deliver the hospital and deliver the agency.
And do you think that could also apply, be almost like a transferable skill? There's a lot of policies and problems could be done. That's one of the first steps. For example, people in the new Church Lane, Newhall area of Harlow, considering getting private, this comes up now, private security to walk the streets because they don't feel they're getting the service from the criminal justice system that they're paying into, and that's another one, isn't it?
It is crazy how, when you reflect on these things, as I do, we've got our highest tax burden ever in this country, and yet you've got the lowest services in this country. So again, I asked the question which I asked before, where's all the money going? We're paying into something and we're not getting our services. And police and crime and justice system is just another example of where we are paying for things. Where are our local bobbies? Where are the police people? Why is it the criminal justice system has such got a backlog? Is because we're not invested in it. So our money is going somewhere, right? It's up to the Conservative candidate and the Labour candidate to explain where the money is gone and how it's going to be spent if they have a Labour government, right? My example is where you've got the police not on the streets. We have committed to having more police officers on the streets so that it's more visible and locally trusted people who are actually policing the area that they live in, right? So there's a practical commitment there, because you don't want communities to feel they're being underserviced like they have been for the last 14 years, whether it's policing, whether it's hospitals, or whether it's the care, or whether it's mental health at schools. There are lots of different areas where we're paying money into it, but we're not getting the money and not getting the services. How is that even possible?
I'm just skirting over a few subjects that in the time we have here, a few days before the general election. Why do you think immigration has come up? So as it's always there in general elections, but why do you think it seems to have raised its profile again?
You're right. Immigration is always going to be an area and an issue of concern, maybe. But I think people do. There are certain political parties who want to raise it as a immigration election, for example. It is not an immigration election. It is about services and the traditional topics that we look at. Immigration is an issue, and I would argue that we need to make a positive case for immigration. Look, as a son of an immigrant, I get that issue about immigration. Why do people come over here? Why do they work here? But I think if we talk about the positive case for immigration, we can turn this narrative sometimes that political parties, some of them, especially on the right, blame the immigrants for not getting a hospital appointment, not getting a doctor's appointment. The argument is not about immigration. We're not getting doctor's appointment, hospital's appointment, and police on our streets because of underinvestment by government. It's not that the immigrants are here and taking all the appointments. There aren't no appointments. So stop blaming the immigrants. Talk about why these things aren't working and these things aren't functioning, rather than scapegoating a section of people who, frankly, if you look at the statistics, when you get legal migration coming in, they put in £3 billion more than they take out. That's just an economic fact, and you can look it up. And that is important to understand that immigrants have a positive role to play. There's multiculturalism in this country and in Harlow. If you've ever gone for a Chinese restaurant or an Indian restaurant, you've had those kinds of foods, you're taking part in multicultural Harlow. That's not a bad thing.
Have you enjoyed campaigning?
I have, yeah. It's good. I mean, look, the process is about providing the solutions. Campaigning isn't just about standing and talking. And I've said this before, and I'll say it to you as a last comment, or one of the comments is, this has never been about me or about the Liberal Democrats. Fundamentally, this is about you, the people of Harlow, what their priorities are. This is really important. Politics isn't about campaigning for the sake of campaigning. It's campaigning to address some of the key concerns and key issues for the people of Harlow. And yes, I've absolutely enjoyed that process.
And nationally and locally, what will you define as success?
Well, we've said we want to get as many MPs as possible. So rather than putting an arbitrary figure on it, I think the key thing is to get more MPs that we can have a strong voice for the vast majority of people who are in the middle ground of politics, who just want to get on with their life, make sure they get a doctor's appointment, they can make sure their children have the dentist appointments that they need, make sure that their parents get the elderly care that they need. And that's what it is for them. It's not about the right wing or the left wing. For Liberal Democrats, we want to make sure we get those policies in place. And the more MPs we have, the more we can be accountable for that.
And this is the first time, is it the first time you've stood as a candidate? Yeah. Would you consider, whatever happens, standing again?
I think so, yeah, because the argument still goes on. The policies are still relevant. We haven't resolved all their problems. So absolutely understand, as long as we can talk about these immediate policies that impact the people, I'm happy to do it again.